I am going to tell you something that you already know, but you need reminding of. And it is something that might at first make you sad, but I'm going to tell you right now, you should be very happy about this. There is no muse. Writing is not magic. Welcome to How to Write Good. I am your host, Daniel Poppie. You can find out more about me at danielpoppie.com. If it is your first time here, How to Write Good is a writing podcast that seeks to find principles and advice that can be applied across a broad range of writing situations. If you've been here before, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button below, and share. Okay, so I realize that if I say to someone that there's no muse, they're probably going to look at me and be like, yeah, I know there's no muse. I realize this is common knowledge within the writing world. And I believe that if you want to know what someone actually believes, look at their actions and they'll tell you. You'll eventually be able to figure out what that person believes. And I think that a lot of writers act as if there is some sort of muse. When I talk about muse in this way, I don't mean that there is some being, some spiritual being that comes down and connects to you on some spiritual level and allows you to write words that are beyond the ability of a person to write. When I talk about the idea that people believe there's a muse, I think it's the case that people believe they need to get into this emotional state to write. They need to feel good to write. They need to hype themselves up, or they need to get in a specific state of mind to write and to write well. And I just don't think that is the case. I think that being in a specific state of mind is a good thing. I think that if you can attain a state of flow where everything seems to be clicking into place, it can be phenomenal because it makes your writing easier. But I do not think you need to be in that state to get to the point where your writing is good. Now, before I go on, I would like to say that I think you should try to teach yourself to get into that flow state. But I don't think you should rely on that flow state. And I think it hampers people when they rely on that flow state. And I think people have the wrong attitude when they rely on that flow state. So what do I mean by people having the wrong attitude? So what I have noticed to a certain extent, and it just depends on the person as well, is that specific writers will not write if they don't feel like writing. Now, I think there are legitimate reasons for taking a break from writing. I think you should give your mind a rest. I think you should sleep. I think you should exercise. You should take time to eat. There are a lot of things you should do that you need to stop writing to do. There are a lot of things you need to do to take care of yourself. And there are even instances where something traumatic or difficult, something that is heartbreaking in your life that happens, that makes it so it's very hard to do anything, let alone writing. So I don't want this to come across as if I'm heartless or I think that people don't need a break from whatever they're doing that is artistic, okay? What I mean to say is that people think they need to feel good to write. Or maybe a better way of saying it is people think they need to have the words come flowing out of them to write well. And if you really think about it, I don't think that makes sense, because if you have the words flowing out of you, you're probably in a somewhat relaxed state. You're probably able to imagine things really well. You probably have a very minimal level of anxiety. You aren't worried about something. You are in a good mood. But your characters aren't always in a good mood. The situations you are writing about aren't always fun. What I have noticed in my past is that when I am not having a good day, when I'm not feeling well, I can actually use those feelings. I can actually use that emotionlessness. I can use that frustration, and I can put it into my book. I can put it into what I'm writing about, and it is going to come across better if I do it in that state, because I can actually look at myself. I can take a step back. I can see what's happening in my own mind. I can see what's happening with my own emotions in my body, because when you have emotions, you actually feel them physically. And then I can look at those things. I can look at them directly, and then I can take those ideas and put them down on the paper. Or if I can't disconnect from myself enough, I can write from my own perspective in that way, and I gain a very intimate perspective on the emotions and ideas going through my head. I have stated in the past that you should do your best to have different experiences and know different things, because if you have different experiences, you can look at the experiences and how they affected you, and you can bring those experiences and those emotions you felt and the ideas that went through your head into your story. And because your life is not so different than somebody else's, you can actually connect to another person because people have similar experiences of the same thing that are close enough that they can understand one another. I don't think they're the exact same experience of that one thing because everybody has their own unique set of ideas and their own unique lives, but I think it can get really close. And I think there's an honesty when you're writing from your own perspective. Now, you might say, I'm not writing from my own perspective. I'm writing in third person. That doesn't really help me much, does it? It actually does. It actually does, because what it does is it gives you a piece of information you've written that you can draw from later on, right? So if you go through your entire book and you're having a really bad day and you think, oh man, how am I going to write this scene? Well, if you can use what you are going through to write that scene, you can always go back and edit what you've already written. You can use those frustrations and you can bring them into the story. And then if those frustrations are not appropriate for that scene or that character, or if that character doesn't do the things that you would do, you can pare away those things, but you can still keep the core of what is happening if that is appropriate for that specific scene. And you can always rewrite the scene if you really need to. But in a lot of cases, when we are having frustrations with our writing, we are having frustrations with the first draft because staring at a blank page can be a very difficult thing. And what we need to do is we actually need to learn how to write no matter what. We need to learn how to write no matter what. And if we can write no matter what, we'll have material to work with, and we can always fix that material later. So we need to learn how to write no matter what. And then when we go back to the edit, we also need to learn how to edit no matter what, and then edit again no matter what, and go over that piece of writing until we are satisfied with that end product of writing. And what I'm going to tell you is, if you have this attitude toward writing, if you have this attitude that you're going to push on through the difficult things, you will get better at writing. And what you will find, because I found it with myself, is that I have written certain passages in books. And I have gotten through those passages, and at the end of the writing the passages, I was not in a good mood. I was in a bad mood, and I thought those passages were some of the worst things I had ever written. And what I found when I read through them is they were much better than what I expected. And one of the reasons why I'm able to do this, one of the reasons why I think this is the case, is because I practice writing a lot. I do a lot of writing in my day-to-day life. I write a lot. I practice a lot. And this is why I don't think there is a muse, because I don't think that I just became a good writer because something is special about me. I think I became a good writer because I wrote a lot. I did a lot of things to try to become a good writer. I assessed what I was writing and I thought, how can I make this better? And then I assessed it more and I said, how can I make this better? And I moved beyond mediocrity toward better writing. And because you write so much, here's the thing. It's not a muse when you write. If you learn how to write really well, if you practice and practice and practice, your brain gets used to writing. You get used to writing, and even if you're having a bad day, you are so used to writing that it is a lot easier to write well, even when it doesn't feel like you are writing well. So it isn't a muse. It is not a muse. It is not something that comes upon you. It is not a fit. It is not something outside of your control. It is you working day after day to push yourself into better writing, and you getting more and more used to being a better writer. So what do you think? Am I completely off? If you think I'm completely off, you can definitely tell me down below if you are watching this or if you are listening to this as a podcast. You can always reach out to me on whichever social media you prefer. If you enjoyed this, you're probably wondering how you can support me. Well, you can actually do two simple things. Follow the first link below to grab a copy of my book, and then follow the second link and sign up for my newsletter. It's that simple. Those two things will mean the world to me, and give me more time to write books and create content for you. As always, my name is Daniel Poppie, and this is How to Write Good.